Ladies, let me tell you something real quick. The moment you beg a man to love you, to choose you, or to stay with you, you've already given him the power to break you. And that's not love. That's a warning sign. Never beg a man twice. Not for love, not for attention, not for respect. Intro, a strong woman knows her worth. She doesn't chase, she doesn't beg, and she damn sure doesn't settle. If a man can walk away from you once, let him. Because what's meant for you will never require begging. In this video, we're going to break down exactly why begging for a man is beneath you and how to rise up and never look back. Number 1, love should never be one-sided. Let's get this straight right now. Love is not a performance. It's not something you have to prove, earn, or chase. Love is a connection between two people who choose each other daily, freely, and wholeheartedly. If you find yourself being the only one putting in effort, initiating conversations, planning the time together, or making emotional space while he just shows up when it's convenient, that's not love. That's you loving alone. And loving alone is exhausting. You were not put on this earth to carry the emotional weight of a relationship by yourself. A woman who constantly gives while receiving crumbs in return is not in a relationship. She's in a cycle of self-sacrifice. And what's worse, she starts convincing herself that this is what love is supposed to feel like. Let me tell you, it's not. You deserve someone who shows up for you, not just with words when they feel guilty, but with actions that match their intentions. A man who cares doesn't need constant reminders. He doesn't disappear and then expect you to accept him back every time. He doesn't ignore your value. He sees it, respects it, and protects it. But too often, strong women fall into the trap of giving more, hoping the man will eventually see their worth. So you cook for him. You cancel your plans. You try to be more patient, more understanding. You soften your voice. You tiptoe around his mood swings. And the more you give, the less he appreciates. Why? Because people don't value what they didn't work for. When love is one-sided, it's not a partnership, it's a burden. You start losing pieces of yourself just to keep the relationship going. You silence your needs. You compromise on your dreams. You lower your standards, thinking, maybe if I just give a little more, he'll finally treat me right. But let me give it to you straight. A man who truly wants to be with you will never let you feel like you're in this alone. He will never make you feel like you're begging for scraps of love. He will be present, consistent, engaged. Real love doesn't make you chase. So if you're feeling like you're always reaching out first, always fixing things, always trying harder, step back. Ask yourself, is this really love? Or am I just afraid of being alone? Because if you stay in a one-sided relationship out of fear, you're already alone. You're just sharing space with someone who stopped choosing you a long time ago. And I know it hurts. I know it's hard. You've invested your time, your heart, your energy. But trust me, peace is better than forced love. Respect is better than attention. And walking away from one-sided love might just be the most loving thing you can do for yourself. You don't need to beg someone to meet you halfway. You don't need to keep giving to someone who's only taking. If love doesn't come back to you with equal force, let it go. Let it go and make room for, or the love that matches yours. Number 2, begging turns queens into beggars. You were born to wear a crown, not to kneel for validation. The moment you start begging a man to stay, to treat you right, to just give you the love and loyalty you deserve, you start shrinking. You start forgetting who you are. You start placing his comfort above your dignity. And slowly, you stop feeling like a queen. That's what begging does. It doesn't just hurt, it changes you. Begging strips you of your power. You begin to walk on eggshells, trying not to upset him. You dress differently. You silence your voice. You become overly accommodating, overly patient, overly understanding, because you think if you just do everything right, maybe, just maybe, he'll stay. Maybe he'll choose you, but you're not his project. You're not here to audition for love. You're not here to perform for attention. When a woman begs a man to love her, what she's really saying is, I don't believe I'm enough as I am. And that belief, that's poison. It'll eat away at your self-esteem until you start accepting less than the bare minimum. You start confusing manipulation with passion, neglect with independence, and breadcrumbs with love. But here's the truth. A man who truly values you won't put you in a position to beg, ever. He won't let you question your place in his life. He won't ghost you and call it space. He won't breadcrumb you and call it love. You won't have to remind him to respect you, to cherish you, to show up for you. He'll just do it, because queens don't beg, they bless. When you walk into a room, you bring peace, strength, and grace. You bring loyalty, support, and care. Your love is not average, it's healing, it's transformative. And that kind of love should never ever have to beg for a seat at the table. So if you're sitting there waiting for a text, replaying old conversations, trying to decode silence, stop. You're worth more than confusion. You're worth more than delay. You're worth more than someone who makes you question your worth. And let's get one thing very clear. Your worth is not up for negotiation. The moment you realize that begging is beneath you is the moment everything changes. Because when you stop begging, you start becoming. You become stronger, clearer, braver, and in that space you'll finally attract the love that doesn't make you beg, but instead meets you at your level or rises to it. So fix your crown, wipe your tears, and walk like you know exactly who you are. Because begging, that's not your story. Being chosen without question, that's where your chapter begins. Number 3, self-respect is louder than desperation. Let's stop confusing desperation with love, because when you start begging, you're not being loving, you're being afraid. Afraid to lose him, afraid to be alone, afraid that if you don't fight for it, nobody else will ever love you. But listen closely, any love that costs you your dignity is too damn expensive. Self-respect doesn't scream, it doesn't cry, it doesn't chase, it walks. Self-respect is quiet strength. It's that unshakable energy that says, I don't need to prove myself to be worthy of real love. It's knowing that walking away is sometimes the most powerful thing you can do. Because if you have to raise your voice to be heard or lower your standards to be loved, you're in the wrong place. Desperation begs. Self-respect sets boundaries. You might think begging shows how much you care, but to him, it shows weakness. It shows fear. It tells him that no matter how badly he treats you, you'll always be there. And once he sees that, he stops trying. He stops respecting. He stops seeing you as a queen and starts treating you like a backup plan. Let's be real here. Men don't respect women who beg. They respect women who know what they bring to the table and aren't afraid to eat alone. If you're always available, always understanding, always the one reaching out, it creates imbalance. He gets comfortable. He assumes you'll always be there, no matter what. That's not love. That's convenience. And you're not a convenience. You're a gift, a whole blessing. It takes strength to stop replying, strength to sit in silence, strength to choose yourself even when it hurts. But that strength builds you. Every time you say, I won't tolerate this, you rise. Every time you don't chase after someone walking away, you reclaim your power. Understand this. The man who really wants you will never put you in a position to beg. He'll make sure you know your place in his life. He'll make sure you feel chosen, safe, and loved. He'll never let you question your worth because your presence is a privilege to him, not a problem. Self-respect isn't about being cold or heartless. It's about honoring your own heart before handing it to someone else. It's about protecting your peace, your energy, your value. You don't need to fight for someone who wouldn't even fight for you. You don't need to explain to someone who's not even listening. You don't need to chase someone who's already shown you their back. Let them go and let yourself grow. Because when you lead with self-respect, the world treats you differently. You attract better. You elevate your circle. You find peace. And peace, that's worth more than any temporary affection, any sweet words, or any half-hearted love. Remember, desperation might get his attention, but self-respect, that gets the right man's admiration. Number 4, a man who loves you doesn't need convincing. Read this twice. You should never have to convince a grown man to love you. If he doesn't see your value, it's not your job to hand him a flashlight and a step-by-step guide. The man who's truly for you, he'll know. Not because you reminded him every day, not because you bent over backwards, not because you begged, but because he's emotionally mature enough to recognize what's in front of him. A man who loves you doesn't need convincing. He just needs one thing, clarity. And when he sees clearly, you shouldn't have to argue for your place in someone's life. You shouldn't be trying to prove your worth with loyalty, attention, affection, or endless forgiveness. That's not love. That's labor. And a relationship built on labor will always exhaust the woman who gives and spoil the man who takes. When a man wants you, it's simple. He calls, he shows up, he chooses you publicly, consistently, and proudly. And when he doesn't, that's also simple. Because silence is an answer. Delay is an answer. Inconsistency is an answer. The problem is too many women ignore those answers because their hearts are louder than their minds. But let me be clear, the right man will never put you in a position to feel unwanted. He won't ghost you and call it space. He won't disappear and call it confusion. He won't play games and call it love. Real men don't need reminders to value you. They don't need convincing to commit. They know what they want. And if they want you, they won't risk losing you. The man who makes you guess, he's already told you everything you need to know. It's just hard to hear through the noise of your own hope. You're not supposed to carry the emotional burden of two people. That's not your job. Your job is to love deeply, but with wisdom, to give fully, but only where it's reciprocated, to stay committed, but only where it's safe. You don't convince a man to grow. You don't teach him how to treat you like a queen. If he has to be convinced to show up for you, to communicate, to prioritize you, he's not the one. Because queens don't chase love. They attract it through presence, through standards, through the kind of energy that says, I am enough, exactly as I am. So stop trying to be the exception in a man's story when you were born to be the standard in someone else's. If he doesn't see it, let him go. You are not here to be tolerated. You are here to be treasured. And the man who loves you, he won't need a reminder. He'll just rise to meet you. Number 5, you teach people how to treat you.
Here's a truth that might sting, but it will set you free. People will only treat you the way you allow them to. Every time you accept half effort, every time you let a disrespectful comment slide, every time you forgive betrayal without accountability, you're setting a standard. Whether you know it or not, you're teaching people exactly what they can get away with. Think about that. You don't just show others how to treat you with your words, you show them with your actions. If a man disappears for days, shows up when it's convenient, or makes you feel like an option instead of a priority, and you still answer the phone, you just taught him something. You just said, I'll still be here, no matter how little you give. And once you do that, don't be surprised when he keeps testing those limits, because the moment you compromise once, he'll try it again, and again, and again, until you don't even recognize yourself anymore. What started as love turns into survival. You go from being a confident woman to someone constantly wondering, what did I do wrong? But let me be clear, it's not about what you did wrong, it's about what you tolerated too long. You are not a rehabilitation center for emotionally unavailable men. You're not here to raise grown adults or teach someone how to value you. That's their job. Your job is to protect your energy, guard your peace, and hold the damn line. Because boundaries, that's where self-respect lives. The moment you say, I won't accept this, you draw a line, and that line becomes a filter, separating those who are willing to step up from those who are only around because it was easy. When you raise your standards, you don't lose people who care. You lose people who never did. You teach him through consistency. If he messes up and you forgive without growth, he learns that your forgiveness is cheap. But if you hold him accountable, if you step back and say, I won't accept anything less than what I give, he learns that your love comes with strength. That's powerful. And remember, the man who truly wants you in his life will rise to the occasion. He won't fight your standards, he'll honor them. Because to him, being with you is a privilege, not a burden. And a man who sees you as valuable will treat you like treasure, not like trash. So stop explaining your worth. Stop repeating your boundaries. Stop giving second chances to men who didn't deserve the first one. You don't have to fight for someone who would rather watch you struggle than step up. You don't have to prove yourself to someone who clearly doesn't see your value. The moment you accept poor behavior, you co-sign it. But the moment you demand better, you start attracting better. You teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. If you honor yourself, others will follow. If you value your time, your energy, your love, others will either respect it or remove themselves. Either way, you win. Either way, you grow. So raise the bar, protect your space, and never forget, you are the standard. Number 6, walking away is your power move. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she stops waiting, she stops hoping, pleading, wishing he'd change, and instead, she stands up, lifts her head, and walks away, not because she stopped loving him, but because she finally started loving herself more. Walking away isn't weakness, it's power. It's not giving up, it's leveling up. Because the moment you walk away from a man who doesn't value you, that's when your transformation begins. That's when the begging stops and the building starts. You build your peace, your confidence, your glow, and suddenly, the woman who used to cry over unanswered texts becomes the woman who doesn't even notice they stopped coming. That's power. Too many women stay in relationships out of fear. Fear of being alone. Fear that they won't find someone better. Fear of starting over. But let me tell you something. Being alone is better than being unloved in a relationship. Starting over is scary, but so is staying stuck. You're not meant to beg for love. You're meant to become so secure in who you are that the wrong man feels uncomfortable in your presence, and the right one rises to meet your energy. Walking away doesn't mean you didn't care. It means you cared enough about yourself to stop bleeding for someone who wouldn't even offer you a bandage. You want to know what happens after you walk away? You get your clarity back. You stop second-guessing yourself. You sleep better. You laugh louder. You start becoming the woman you were before you lost yourself trying to please someone else. And trust me, when he sees that version of you, the one who didn't fold, didn't break, didn't chase, that's the moment he realizes what he lost. But by then, it's too late, because you've already evolved into the woman he was never ready for. This is your power move. Not slamming doors, not shouting, not revenge, just peace, just distance, just silence. That silence, it echoes louder than any words you could ever say. You stop showing up, you stop responding, you stop explaining yourself, and instead, you focus on you, on your purpose, your healing, your future, because that next chapter of your life, it doesn't require his permission, only your decision. So if he won't choose you, you choose you. If he can walk away easily, let him. But you walk away with grace, with strength, with dignity. And when you do, never look back. Because a woman who walks away from what no longer serves her is unstoppable. She becomes the storm. She becomes the lesson. She becomes the standard he'll never meet again. Listen to me. You don't need to beg to be loved. You don't need to shrink to be chosen. You don't need to fight for a seat at a table you built with your own hands. You are not a second option. You are not a backup plan. You are the prize. And the moment you realize that everything in your life changes, when you stop chasing, stop begging, stop lowering your standards just to keep someone who was never ready for you, you rise. You become unshakable, unstoppable, unbreakable. You walk into rooms differently. You speak with certainty. You carry yourself like the queen you were born to be. Because begging is not love. It's surrendering your power. And today, that ends. You reclaim your worth. You reclaim your voice. You reclaim your peace. So let him go. If he couldn't see what was right in front of him, let him miss you in silence while you heal in power. Let him wonder while you build a life so full, so radiant, so blessed that he becomes a distant memory in the story of your rise. Because queens don't beg, they rebuild, they elevate, and they never look back.